Most ambitious goals sound great on paper, but the reality is they don't automatically lead to great results. In this episode, I want to share with you 5 key tips that I've used over the years that actually make sure that you do get great results. First tip, just start writing. In my own personal experience, a lot of people have a great deal of thoughts in their head, and they kind of more or less know what they need to do, but the reality is in their head, it's quite convoluted. So the first thing you need to do in order to make some real progress is you need to put those thoughts onto an actual piece of paper. Once you've laid out all of your ideas, once you've laid out everything that you need to do, you can actually start to structure it and you can create a hierarchy list in terms of what are your priorities. But you can't do that purely in your head. So my number one advice to you is just start writing it down and then you can work from there. Number 2, start with the outcome and not the task. Very often when I am faced with a challenge in front of me, what you might think is the necessary thing to do is to look at the minute task that's in front of you. And that could be achieve X amount of calls, or make sure that you achieve X amount of revenue, or make sure that you do this particular thing. But really, what should be driving everything that you're doing is what is the North Star that you're looking to achieve. So rather than saying how many calls do I need to make, start thinking about why that's important and where you're trying to get to and work your way backwards from there. I've always found a great deal of success and relief if you start with the end goal in mind rather than just look at the small task that's in front of you. So my biggest advice to you is start with the end goal and work your way backwards. Number 3, when setting goals, learn to use the 1 month, 3 month, and 12-month rule. Everything that you want to achieve ultimately becomes a balance between your long-term objective and your short-term objective, and not just how you're going to get to the end destination, but what are the necessary steps that you need to accomplish in terms of getting you there. So it is important that you develop a habit of working on your 30-day plan, your 90-day plan, and then your 365-day plan. Because ultimately there will be a different dimension to each one of these, and the idea is there should be some consistency in terms of how you are getting to that bigger objective by achieving that small, medium, and large task that you set for yourself. But knowing the roadmap that you're going to set for yourself is really going to help you to make sure that you're staying on the same road and make sure that you're not actually diverting from achieving your bigger objective. Number 4, get in the habit of making your goals measurable and specific and not vague. You see, over the years, I've trained probably close to 300 to 400 salespeople, as well as other different professionals within my business. And one of the things that always strikes me is you can ask people, what is your vision? What is your goal? What do you want to achieve? And the vast majority of them will give you quite generic goals. I want to become rich. I want to have career progression. I want to buy a house, or anything of that nature. The reality is not that many have actually gone through the process of deciphering and getting specific and getting granular. How much do you want to make? What do you need to do in order to achieve that? What kind of house? 1 bed, 2 bed in one area? What kind of career progression do you want? So get in the habit of getting very concrete and specific with your goals rather than working towards something vague that ultimately isn't going to help you achieve that because it isn't specific enough. Last and final tip of the week. Review weekly, but make sure you adjust only monthly. Very often when we embark on a new journey onto a new project and we're doing something that we've never done before, there is naturally a degree of hesitation in what we're doing. And we are very tempted to try to change things, to try to make sure that we do things differently. As soon as something happens, it could be an objection or it could be a rejection or anything that makes you think, you know what, maybe I should do things differently. The problem with that is you don't have enough data points to actually determine that what you're doing is empirically and objectively wrong. You need to accumulate enough information to make that determination. So that's why my advice to you is make sure you continue to execute, you review what you're doing, but when it actually comes to making the changes, give it some time. So make sure that you change only once a month, but you're constantly reviewing your work. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I'll see you next week on the next episode with Paolo Emilio Zanini.